On behalf of Hawkins Contracting, welcome, and thank you for taking part in our subcontractor orientation. Hawkins is a core company that takes everyone's health and safety very seriously. To enhance the health and safety of all, this orientation is required by subcontractors to work on a Hawkins site. This orientation identifies the minimum competency requirements to work on construction sites, the legal duties and responsibilities of subcontractors as per the province and Hawkins, additional expectations and goals as per Hawkins, typical hazards and controls and the daily job hazard analysis, and emergency preparedness plans procedures that apply. To work on a Hawkins site, you must meet minimum training requirements. Ontario has strict requirements for construction sites that Hawkins does enforce. All workers must possess occupational health and safety for workers, otherwise known as 4 steps of safety. All supervisors must possess occupational health and safety for supervisors, otherwise known as 5 steps of safety. All staff must have WHMIS training. All staff that may or will be exposed to a fall hazard must have working at heights. If your team will be working without the presence of Hawkins staff, at least one of your team members must have first aid training, and a first aider must be on site at all times. All staff must be competent at the specific work they are expected to perform based on possessing knowledge, training, and experience for that task. And all staff must have their proof of training readily available on site always. Your rights on construction sites is important, and all subcontracted staff have the following 3 rights. The right to know about health and safety hazards and controls that pertain to your work. The right to participate in health and safety activities that pertain to your work, and the right to refuse any unsafe work. Hawkins supports and promotes these 3 rights. While under Hawkins supervision, you have the responsibility to observe a variety of rules as ordered by the province, including but not limited to, work safely at all times, wear any PPE or clothing required, never remove a safety guard or any protective equipment, report any protective device that is missing or defective, report any workplace hazards, report any violations of the law. The Green Book on site, which includes the Occupational Health and Safety Act and the regulations on construction projects, must be referenced when guidance on the rules is required. Hawkins' own policies, practices, and procedures must also be observed. They can be found in the site safety binder and posted conspicuously in our sea containers and trailers when applicable. Some of the more important rules are accidents, injuries, unsafe conditions, property damage, and near misses, regardless of their nature, shall be promptly reported to supervisors. All inspection, audit, and meeting requirements must be met. Minimum PPE requirements must be met at all times, and PPE must be maintained in good order. The hazard controls listed in the job hazard analysis and any applicable safe work practice or safe job procedure must be observed. No tool shall be used for any purpose other than that intended. All damaged or worn parts shall be promptly repaired or replaced. Staff must provide proper care and maintenance to all workplace-related equipment, properties, and facilities always. Running is not permitted anywhere except in the case of extreme emergency. Tag out or dispose of defective tools and equipment. Maintain excellent housekeeping and signage. The use of drugs or alcohol in our workplaces is not tolerated. Neither is reporting to work intoxicated or hungover. And all acts of violence and harassment will not be tolerated. Hawkins maintains a joint health and safety committee with 2 certified members. Refer to the site's emergency contact list for the current Joint Health and Safety Committee members and their contact information. Any site with 6 or more workers regularly present will also have a site-specific health and safety representative. The site supervisor will introduce you to this representative if it applies. These representatives are in place to attend to health and safety inquiries, concerns, and incidences. Should you have any health and safety concerns that you feel is best brought to the attention of someone not on the project management and supervision team, you may connect with any of these representatives. Our subcontractors are important partners in meeting our goals and expectations. We need you to deliver a quality project on budget and on time, to make and maintain win-win relationships along the way, to suffer no incidences of injury, illness, violence, harassment, property damage, MOL fines, and orders, to have a 100% health and safety reporting compliance record, and to help us maintain the core designation. Our partners must have an active role in meeting these goals and expectations. When you arrive on site, a Hawkins representative will review the site and project-specific hazards, but always come to site prepared for hazards in the form of moving and backing heavy equipment and vehicles, which pose a risk of struck by, crushed by, and struck against injuries. Noise levels above 80 decibels produced by heavy equipment, small gas-powered equipment, cutting and drilling operations, which pose the risk of hearing damage and can cause headaches. Air quality issues produced by heavy equipment, small gas-powered equipment, cutting, drilling, mixing, and dry conditions, which pose the risk of irritation to the lungs, throats, and eyes. Uneven, rough, and wet grades, which pose a risk of slips, trips, and falls at grade, and exposure to climate elements. Controls for the previously mentioned hazards include hard hat, high visibility upper body garment, and safety shoes are always required. Wear additional PPE and apply additional controls as required for the task. Hearing protection, disposable masks, and eye protection are often needed. Never enter the work zones of moving equipment or vehicles. Walk with caution, do not run. And dress according to the weather and plan to have a means of sheltering in place when climate extremes may exist. Subcontractors are responsible for performing a daily hazard analysis of their work before the work begins. Doing so means identifying and documenting all the hazards of the work tasks and environment. For every hazard, a control must be identified, documented, and implemented. This analysis must be reviewed and understood by all members of the subcontractor team. These hazards and controls must be recorded on your own document and shown to the Hawkins supervisor, or it can be recorded on Hawkins' own job hazard analysis document. Hawkins' own job hazard analysis must be reviewed and signed at the start of every shift. Subcontractors must also perform and record pre-use inspections on their heavy equipment. When selecting controls for the hazards you've identified, consider the hierarchy of controls. Start your consideration at elimination and work your way down. Elimination physically removes the hazard. Substitution replaces the hazard. Engineering controls isolates people from the hazard. Administrative controls changes the way people work. And PPE protect a worker with personal protective equipment. This is the last line of defense. Use multiple controls. Don't just select one when more than one is better and possible. Consider the training and experience of your team members when selecting controls. The controls are sufficient only when you have achieved a risk rating of low or better. In the event of an emergency, leave the response to our trained staff. An emergency preparedness plan has been created for this site. In this plan, we address medical emergency, fire emergency, power line contact emergency, trench rescue emergency, confined space emergency, severe weather and natural disasters emergency, chemical spill emergency, fall arrest suspension emergency, and violence or harassment emergency. As part of this plan, emergency coordinators have been assigned. All staff are trained in emergency response procedures for all possible emergency events found in this EPP. And contacts for these emergency scenarios are predetermined, listed, and posted. The most important details of this plan are found on the EPP map. The map indicates the assigned coordinators, communication method, search personnel and zones, emergency devices locations, evacuation routes, and the muster point. Where there is a sea container or trailer, this map is posted. A Hawkins representative will brief you on these details. If your construction site has a sea container or trailer, it is in there that the first aid kit, eye wash, and 5-pound ABC fire extinguisher can be found. 5-pound ABC fire extinguishers are also found on all Hawkins heavy equipment and vehicles. First aid kits are also found in Hawkins vehicles. Do not use a fire extinguisher unless instructed to do so by a Hawkins EPP coordinator or, if needed, to mitigate immediate danger. During an emergency, follow the instructions of the EPP coordinators and site staff. If you hear an air horn, relocate to the muster point. Use emergency devices only if required to mitigate immediate danger or if asked to assist by the emergency coordinators. And remain at the muster point until cleared to leave. When in the middle of a fire emergency, apply the race method. First, rescue those who need help, then alarm others, then contain the fire if need be, and then extinguish or evacuate. Extinguish or evacuate only if needed to mitigate immediate danger or if asked to do so by a Hawkins EPP coordinator. And when extinguishing, apply the pass method, meaning pull the pin, aim low at the base of the flames, squeeze the handle, and sweep side to side. If you find yourself attending to a medical emergency, apply the check, call, care method. Check the scene, then the person, meaning proceed only if it is safe to do so. Call for help from someone nearby and call emergency services if needed. And then care for those with the most severe injuries first. Leave the care to first aiders. In a spill emergency, if a controlled product is spilled, a portable spill kit can be found in the sea container, trailer, and any Hawkins vehicle. Spills must be attended to immediately using the instructions in the kit and the product's safety data sheet. Ask a Hawkins employee for help if a spill occurs. On behalf of Hawkins Contracting, thank you for participating in this orientation presentation. To complete this process, you must now meet with a Hawkins representative for the site in which you will be working. They will provide you with the site-specific details.